So, after Fontaine Archon Quest Act 4, the consensus is that Furina is weak and she is a fake Archon. Well, I'm here to tell you that while she might be a fake Archon, she is not weak. She's just clueless. I know so, because Nicole told me, in Furina's character introduction, and also Dainsleif in the Teyvat travel video, and some hints from the demon god Fussalor that she was named after. But before we get to that, disclaimer. This is a very speculative interpretation of Furina's character based on the sources about her that we have so far. These are not facts or officially confirmed, so take it with a grain of salt. I will also link references mentioned in this video in the description below for further readings if you fancy that. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get to it. The claim that Furina is a weak Archon comes from Arlecchino's recount of her attempt to steal the Gnosis from Furina. Arlecchino jumped on her, and instead of defending herself and fighting back, Furina wept and begged for her life. Although eventually Arlecchino left her alone because, as it turns out, Furina didn't have the Gnosis with her. Which is interesting to me, the fact that Arlecchino simply left afterward, but that's not what we're gonna get into in this video. Maybe some other time in the future. Anyways, that's where the notion is coming from. Let alone fighting back, Furina didn't even try to defend herself. She simply wept. So the conclusion is, she's weak? Which is funny to me because 4 regions ago, we saw another Archon getting attacked by Harbinger and Gnosis stolen. That same Archon didn't fight back and simply let the Harbinger take the Gnosis. I didn't see people calling Venti weak. People claim that Venti did that on purpose, he let Signora steal his Gnosis because he had an ulterior motive, so on and so forth. But now Furina did the same and she's weak? Was it the tears, the theatrical plea for Arlecchino to spare her life? I disagree. Remember what this NPC lady said when we first arrived in Fontaine?
Good tales are often based on true stories, aren't they? And what you see in reality may also be someone deliberately putting on an act while harboring ulterior motives. Whether something is true or not simply isn't that important. The main thing is whether the story being acted out on the stage is splendid enough.
We cannot just accept things as they are presented, especially with someone like Furina who is adored for her unrivaled sense of drama. Although an argument could be made that if she was really putting on an act, then wouldn't Arlecchino definitely have seen through it all? After all, Arlecchino trained Lini and Lynette to be good actors, liars who could mesmerize the crowd. I mean, that's a fair point, but what if I tell you that the act Furina was putting on was actually genuine? And not just in the instance when Arlecchino attacked her, but all the time that they met afterwards, as well as her lack of knowledge on how the Oratrice work, her non-existent plan to stop the prophecy from happening, and so on. Everything was genuine because Furina herself is keeping herself in the dark, so when she acts the part, it's believable. After all, as a Sumeru scribe once said, the best guise is when you believe your own lies. Before I arrived at that conclusion, this was the part that puzzled me. Furina was said to be the one who built the Oratrice, but then came the time when it malfunctioned and she was asked how that was possible, and she couldn't answer that. Or when Neuvillette said that Furina had always taken the prophecy quite seriously, been collecting information and intelligence about it, and she had said as much when Arlecchino pressured her. But then Arlecchino challenged her to share what her plan exactly was, and again, she couldn't answer that. The inconsistency of her character, or rather, the duality of her character, puzzled me. Which, by the way, is all over her character design. From the different eye colors, the different colors of her glove, down to the depiction of the demon god she was named after. Fussalor, the demon god, is depicted as a man with griffin wings. Griffins, a type of animal that takes the form of half a lion, half an eagle. 2 animals. Duality, or split personality, the more famous theory these days, right? And this is the part where I once again would like to offer a different perspective. Instead of the Furina that we know being a shell of a watered-down version of the Hydro Archon, while the real Archon is inside the Oratrice, I believe that this Furina to be more of a, a front to the Archon self, while the other side of her, the one who is more knowledgeable, whose calm and wise voice could be heard in 4.1 teaser and Neuvillette character video, that other self is an alter that seldom takes the wheel. In short, I think there is only one Furina. It's the consciousness that is many in that one body. Have you heard of or perhaps read Detective Conan? Watch it maybe? See, there's this character in that story named Mori Kogoro who's famously known as the Sleeping Kogoro. He is a stupid detective really, who got famous because Conan, the shrunken version of Kudo Shinichi, has been putting him to sleep and using him as a medium to deliver his deduction. Conan has been doing that because he doesn't want people to know his true identity. Simply put, Kogoro is the face, Conan is the brain. While Kogoro might be dumb 95% of the time, could falsely accuse people left and right, he has his moments. Given enough clues, he might actually be able to solve a case by himself. Mori Kogoro reminds me of Furina a lot. Furina accused Lini of murder, and while for the most part she was wrong, she actually did her homework and managed to uncover some truth. Lini's true identity, for example. Sure, she couldn't answer all of the questions Arlecchino threw at her, but weirdly enough, at one point she stood up for herself and said that she did have a plan in regards to the prophecy. Challenged further, and she couldn't answer the question. So, what if she has multiple personalities? And the Furina that we've met throughout the quest so far is the one who has been intentionally kept in the dark by the altar. So much so that she's basically, clueless, really. Like how Conan would sometimes share clues to Kogoro just enough so that he wouldn't go off tangent too much. What if Furina's other personality was the one who shared those informations to her, letting her know of the big picture so that Furina could manage day-to-day conversation with people? Then in case she is asked for more details, she gotta rely on her talent to shift the attention away from herself so she doesn't have to answer. I know it sounds like a crazy idea, but take a look at her character introduction by Mage Nicole. One lie always follows another, and so justice awaits inescapably at the end. The ignorant see this as some kind of farce, but if they trace back to the source, they inevitably realize that they began by deceiving themselves. So how could Furina deceive an assassin who trains people to lie and mesmerize the crowd? Well, she lies to herself first. She begged for her life because for all she knew, that was all she was capable of. And while we're on the topic of knowledge, this would also explain the second sentence that Dainsleif said about Fontaine.
But even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine.
The first sentence, living for the spectacle of the courtroom, sounded like it could mean many things before we got the first Fontaine teaser, right? But then we got the Final Feast trailer and, the Hydro Archon was seen quite literally waiting for the next juicy trial to aid her boredom. The meaning is as literal as it could be, just as the second part of the same sentence, that Fussalor is seeking to judge all other gods? Yeah, she literally told us that when we first met her. So, what if the second sentence is just as literal? But even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine. Instead of asking why she shouldn't be messing with Celestia, a question that we already know the answer to, why don't we ask this instead? Who told her? To me, that sentence emphasizes more on the subject, as in, despite her lack of knowledge of many things, this much she knows. Somebody who equipped her with all this basic knowledge told her not to mess with Celestia. She has been told as much. But if ever somebody asks her why, she won't have an answer to that. She just knows, and probably would use the same technique, lying her way out of giving a straight answer. And speaking of lies, right? Did you know that the demon god Fussalors had hoped to return to heaven, but he eventually was deceived and couldn't return? This is reaching a bit, but what if the Furina that we know was also promised something? What if she was promised to take the wheel just for a little bit, while the other took care of some other stuff? But then a bit turned a year turned a century, and a century turned 5. And now all the responsibilities are too much for her to bear that it leads her to sometimes weep at night. And because all water would converge in the Fontaine of Lucine, That's why we're able to hear her desperate cry.
So interminable. So lonely. Just how much longer?
I believe Furina hasn't shown her true power yet, and I don't think that equals to being weak. Furina is not weak. She's simply clueless because for the best guys to work, she gotta believe her own lies first. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.